Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. Austin, I finally have it. I'm Kevin, and I am joined by the risk taker, the betting on yourself king, Austin.
It's always the way to go. Always bet on yourself. No one else is going to be on your side beside you and your family, and maybe your agent, but probably not. But yeah, always bet on yourself in anything you do. You'd rather bet on yourself and fail than give up a lot of value that you could have gained. That's how I live my life. You got to bet on yourself.
Yeah, and now I finally have a way to introduce you for each episode. So I came up with that because I saw Lamar Jackson has been putting up a season, and you know what he did? Bet on himself.
Yeah, Lamar has more touchdowns than any other team in the NFL right now besides the Ravens, which I don't even think the Ravens should count because he's on the Ravens. He has 12 touchdowns, 10 passing, 2 rushing. He is the first player in NFL history to have back-to-back games where he's thrown 3 touchdowns and had 100 rushing yards. Easily one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and we'll have to see how far he can take this. It's a great team, and they got a big week ahead of them.
Yes. But before we get to the week ahead, let's look at this past week. All the primetime games stunk. But before we get to the primetime games, did you watch the Lions and Commanders game, or Lions and Vikings game?
No.
Oh, because I was going to talk to you about Jared Goff at the end. In my opinion, it was like, okay. I was like, okay, I'm going to see if Jared Goff can do it. He had 13 seconds left, and he just throws up the ball. And it wasn't even near the wide receiver going deeper. I was like, okay, I felt he could have had one more shot to get a guy to the sideline, and then he makes that deep throw. That deep throw turned into an interception, which ended the game. But so that was my Jared Goff note. But
there's a chance
Kirk
that his coach made that call, not Goff.
Well, yeah. From what it looked like to me, it was like Jared Goff, like he's running around, and then he does his like Aaron Rodgers impersonation. And I was like, to me, I thought there was a guy going toward the sideline, and I thought he could have just thrown it there. But
it's tough. There's a lot of pressure in those games, and with 13 seconds left, there is no good decision because every decision probably leads to a loss anyway.
Yeah, it's true. I just think sometimes, though, that was like a moment to me where he could have impressed me, but he didn't impress me. You know what is impressive, though, is Cooper Rush is now 3-0. I don't want to spend much time on it because, like, it wasn't – I think it proved what we thought about the Giants. The Giants, I think we both agreed on.
Their O-line isn't good enough.
2-0 team.
Their O-line is not good enough. It's not. Daniel Jones played amazing last night. Or not last night. 2 nights ago. Or 3 nights ago. Wow. But I was thoroughly impressed by everything I saw from Daniel Jones. He didn't fumble. He made some of the greatest passes on the run, moving up in the pocket while getting hit. He made that one to the sideline. That was an amazing, perfect throw. But his O-line must have hated him, because he continuously was getting blown up in the backfield. The Cowboys set the record for this season with the most pressures and top 2 in the last 2 seasons in pressures with 24 pressures. How do you win a game? How? You can't win a game because Cooper Rush is a competent QB, and against a competent QB with a competent offense, there's no way you win that game with that many pressures unless you have an insane running back, which they do, but the Cowboys' run defense is good enough to at least hold them to not 200 yards.
Yeah, and Saquon did break out for that touchdown.
Yeah.
So it was good. Like, I think they did a good job. Micah Parsons is a beast because I just saw him, even if they're a bad O-line, which they are, he just blew up an O-lineman. And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. From the way Micah Parsons looks and blowing up an O-lineman and how that O-lineman looked, like physically, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense, but it's awesome.
Yeah, and Micah Parsons is already a top 10 defender in this league. He's, especially if we're talking about MVP defenders, because I believe he is the glue that holds that Cowboys defense together. You take him away, while they're still probably a pretty good defense, they lose a lot of that firepower.
Yes, and I think he's like a Swiss Army knife because he can play linebacker and then he's on defensive end. And that just allows other players to excel. And with the Daniel Jones interception, I don't blame that on Daniel Jones. I blame that. I just give that to Dave.
No.
Like, that's an incredible play.
Also, David Sills slipped.
Oh, yeah.
The wide receiver slipped. Wide receiver slipped. He didn't know he was going to slip. It was also they needed to get the ball moving. He had to throw the ball. He couldn't just throw it away or take a sack. So, yeah, that pick was definitely not on him. But a game that I want to look forward to next week, just quickly, Bears versus Giants. Both teams are 2-1. It guarantees the Bears or the Giants will be 3-1 after this week. Who's your pick?
Ooh. Bears and Giants.
Guaranteed one team is going to be 3-1. You going to go Bears? Give me one reason.
Yeah. Defensive line for the Giants. I think Justin Fields is going to have a game. And I think he's going to be able to maneuver around and make some plays.
Okay. I like it. I would have to agree with you. I believe the defense for the Bears is good enough to become 3-1, which is crazy to think about. Going back to last week, what were your thoughts on the Bills-Dolphins end of the game? I know you at least saw a replay of that if you didn't watch it live. What are your thoughts?
I saw it live because I have a very nice setup. It was NFL Red Zone free. So I had one TV, NFL Red Zone, one another game. So I was able to keep up, which was pretty fun on the NFL Red Zone. But the game was wild to me because even that Josh Allen pass, I saw a replay of it. The guy's wide open, and Josh Allen just misses the throw.
Yeah.
And then the butt punt.
Oh, wow.
And then
wow. That was it was a crazy
McKenzie.
game. Yeah. He couldn't get out of bounds. I thought he had a chance. I thought if he cut to the right and went around him, he could have tried. Because that was a game.
He should have just ran straight forward. He shouldn't have done an extra cut. Like, I think there was one point where he tried to get more yards, and I'm like, no, just get out.
Yeah, either get out or fall down. Like, those are the only two options there. If you're going to go down immediately so that you have a higher chance. But when he went down, there was 8 seconds left, and he didn't even get the ball to the official until there was 3 seconds left. So, or the official didn't set up, the official didn't touch the ball. The official that was going to place the ball didn't touch the ball until 3 seconds left. And at that point, he was running over there, and no one was sad, and it was just a mess. And you could see on the replay how mad the offensive coordinator was in the booth. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was funny, too, and especially, like, the memes of it when you don't get your sauces that you asked for.
Yeah.
It was very good on Twitter. But, yeah, that goes now to talk about the Dolphins. Leading the AFC East 3-0. The only other team that has 3-0 is the Eagles. And I think they look good so far. I think getting that win against the Bills definitely lifts their spirits. And they're a team that they made a lot of additions last year or this offseason. They add a left tackle. They add 2 stud wide receivers. Or you add Tyreek Hill to an already emerging star and Jalen Waddle. And then I think Mike McDaniel has done a great job just scheming and getting his players opens. And now Tua has looked very good.
Since you forgot to do it, I'm going to do it. I have to show love to their defense. Their defense is the reason why they beat the Bills. They're the reason why they're 3-0. And I think their defense is the reason why they could be a true contender. They have one of the better defenses in the league. And while they're not given as much credit for it, I definitely think that's a major reason. Because I thought Tua was gone after his supposed concussion. That wasn't a concussion. And we'll see how that works out with the NFLPA, whether or not they're going to investigate that further. But I definitely thought that their defense kept them in it. And while there was a lot of yards gained, there wasn't points. And that's really what the difference is. They're a bend-don't-break defense that can stop you in the red zone if necessary.
Yeah, I agree. And Melvin Ingram has just been a beast for the Dolphins because the past few
100%.
weeks I've just seen highlights.
Yeah, he's been amazing.
So now we have that, and then now we have what else? Chiefs and Colts. Colts pull off.
Wow. You and I were talking. If you start 0-3 near the Colts, is it time to panic? And you were like, yeah. But then I reminded you they play the Chiefs, and you're like, oh, okay, no, it's not panic time yet because they play against the Chiefs. But it's definitely not panic time. They beat the Chiefs. What a game! What do you think about the defensive unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that really kept that drive alive?
I think that's kind of lame because, like, to me, they're just talking. Like, if an unsportsmanlike conduct is like,
I thought it was the fact that what I thought got him the penalty was the fact that he was laying on top of him and looking like he was saying stuff in his ear. And then they got up and he continued it. So I think it went for such a long time that the officials believed that it was it should have been a call. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think you got to let him talk a little bit. But it's when Matt Ryan was laying on the ground like this, looking like he was half dead. And Chris Jones is laying on top of him, screaming in his ear. There's got to be a little bit of boundaries there.
Yeah, even to me, like, I think you should be able to, like, talk game with the other team. It's when it becomes, like, very physical where, like, there's shoving involved, then I would cut it. But to me, like, you're professionals. I think you should be able to go, hey, man, nice sack, or hey, I own you, and, like, do step.
Hey, I own you. Okay.
But, like, I get why they maybe want to, like, set a role model thing for younger kids so they don't do that. Because if it's, like, a younger league, I'd be like, no. But if you're professionals, like, you're grown men, y'all are fine.
I'm 50-50 on it. If he didn't lay on him and he was just barking at him, I wouldn't have called anything. It's when you laid on him at the beginning and then continued doing it. There has to be a limit to how much you can do.
Yeah, the barking or the laying on him would probably be like, okay, no. But
yeah, that's what I know. I know they threw the flag afterwards. Like they laid on him, he didn't throw a flag, and then he continued to bark at him, and then eventually they threw the flag. And they were just like, "You passed the line. Like we were going to give you a lot of leeway here, but they have to set a standard for the game and make sure everyone holds up to it."
Yeah, and there were some great plays by the Kansas City defense, like that 4th and 1 stop when Jonathan Taylor tries to go over on the top. And they just, Nick Bolton, I think, was the first one.
Jonathan Taylor has struggled this season, and I'm worried for the Colts because they do not have the wide receiver talent. Matt Ryan's still a good QB in my mind. I don't think even though he's had a rough start to the season, I don't believe that's his fault. He and Michael Pittman out and everyone out. But since week 1, Jonathan Taylor has been mortal. I'm just going to say that. After amazing last season, the last 2 weeks he's had 54 and last week he has 71. You're like, 71's good. No, it wasn't, because he had 21 rushes for 71 yards, which is an average of 3.38 yards, which is not good for Jonathan Taylor especially.
Yeah, and I think some of that has been like the offensive line. I think they've struggled as of late, and I think that's led to Matt Ryan. I'm trying to see pressures.
Oh, Matt Ryan is high in that. You just go to Matt Ryan and go to sack percentage.
Okay, Matt Ryan. Okay. I'm on Pro Football Reference.
It's on the far, it's close to the far right. His sack percentage this year, I'm just going to say, is 9.3%, which is crazy high. Like, I cannot explain how high that is.
Yeah,
I
see it
He's
now.
getting pressured.
Yeah, so that, I think, has been an issue, even though they do have Quentin Nelson. I know the left side has been struggling because I don't know who the left tackle is.
For comparison, last year, Tom Brady led the league with the lowest sack percentage, and it was 3. That's 3 times lower.
I'm going to look at Joe Burrow last year, because I'm just curious. He was at 10.7 last year.
Yeah, so Matt Ryan's pretty close to that mark.
Or wait, that's this year. It's 8.9 last year.
Oh, okay, so he's higher. But this year, yeah, that's something we need to talk about. We can just talk about it right now, even though the Bengals won. Their O-line is terrible. I'm just going to outright say it is not good.
Yeah, and they put a lot of work into it, which is shocking to me. And the Cowboys O-line actually looks kind of good.
Yeah, I'd say that. They're not great, but they're definitely good. Yeah, I think the
thought they would be.
If you told me before the season which O-line would be better, Bengals or Cowboys, I would have said Bengals. But it's obvious now that it is the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't want to be like too Cowboy-centric, because I don't think I think they should get kudos. Yeah, you won, but like, to me, they're not a contender, because I think there are still issues that just haven't been shown.
I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to ask you a question, a little trivia question. It's so far this season, so I think you have a high chance of getting it right. There's been 3 running backs that have averaged 100 yards per game over 3 games. I've played all 3 games, average 100 yards per game. Can you name them?
Okay, averaged 100 yards? I'll go Zeke. Is Zeke one?
No.
Okay, cool, sweet. Okay. Let me see.
Zeke hasn't hit 100
James
yards.
Robinson.
Zeke hasn't even hit 100 yards all season.
Okay. He actually has looked better, but not.
No,
surprised.
Zeke is good.
He's looking good. I will give him that.
Yeah. James Robinson's no. Last week was his first 100-yard game, and he got exactly 100.
Dang. So they've averaged 100 yards.
Yes.
Okay.
For all, over the entire season.
Okay. Oh, man. This one's tough.
I didn't think it was going to be, but apparently you are struggling.
Well, I'm just not thinking running back, or can it be?
It could be a QB, but it's not. I'm going to tell you that.
Man, I'm just blanking on running backs.
Come on, Kevin. This isn't that bad.
Well, I'm just not thinking. No, he's injured. Najee is my guess.
No. Najee is... I don't even see him up here. Not even close.
Who are the 3?
It's Nick Chubb at 341 yards this season, which is 113.7 per game. 2 is Saquon at 105.7, 317 yards. And number 3, Cordero Patterson, 302 yards, 100.7 yards per game. So, yeah, it's Chubb, Saquon. I think you're going to get Chubb and Saquon. Chubb and Saquon have been the best 2 running backs, obviously, this year so far. And then Cordell Patterson, who had a great game last week. And while he had a bad week 2, he had 120 rushing yards in week 1, 141 last week against the Seattle Seahawks in their first win of the season. I've been impressed with all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, I should have gotten Chubb. I just didn't think of it. To me, like, it's just hard with running backs because to me, there's a lot of running back by committees. Because even Chubb's in a committee with Hunt.
Not really,
and
though,
Saquon
because
just forgot about.
every big run comes from Chubb. Kareem Hunt has not played as well as he would have liked to start this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. To me, there's just not always. To me, they're always like subbing in running backs. Except Saquon, he's healthy, so to me, they're not. He's a traditional running back, and like Zeke in 2016 was a traditional.
Mm-hmm. Hunt this year has 151 rushing yards, which is less than half of what Chubb has.
Dang. Okay, so that's interesting. Running games are doing well. And another team that's doing well I want to talk about is the Jaguars stunning the Chargers. Did you catch that game?
No, I did not, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I did see some of the highlights. I did see that the left tackle, Rashawn Slater, the best lineman for the Chargers, got hurt. Joey Bosa got hurt. It seemed like a lot of injuries for a Chargers team that doesn't need him right now.
Yeah, it's just bad luck, especially Slater because he is an incredible player. And they're also down their center already. Herbert's injured. But I was going to ask you about what you thought of Trevor Lawrence because to me he looked like he was throwing the ball and I'm like, okay, there's some nice throws. And it's just amazing how the coaching change with Doug Peterson has really affected this team.
Yeah, I've been impressed by the Jaguars, and they're definitely better than I anticipated. But we'll have to see how they do this week. I believe that this week they play. Let me check again.
Oh, that's a good matchup.
Oh, Eagles. Oh, no. Yeah, they're definitely, in my opinion, they're not good enough to beat the Eagles, but they've had a good start to the season. Another weird game last week I want to quickly talk about. Panthers versus Saints. Panthers win. What are your thoughts on that? Are the Saints frauds?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I didn't believe much in the Saints. Like, I don't know where I had them in the season rankings. I also don't believe much in the Panthers. But Saints, yeah, to me, the Saints are just in a weird limbo because Jameis Winston's not doing well. Or he's kind of regressing to like old Jameis, or just being what I thought he could have hit a higher ceiling, but he hasn't. And then I think there are just problems, especially with the new coach. While the Panthers, they finally got a win, which is good for them because I think Matt Rule is in a definitely, it's an important year for him, given on he has to show some progress. I would give him one more year, but he's just struggled with QB, which I think has affected his past few years.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And now something we did, maybe not last week, but at least the week before that. I just want to talk about like most important game. I think we've done this every week. So I just want to talk most important game. And this doesn't necessarily mean that the teams are really high rated. They can be low rated, but like a game that you have to win or biggest game. And then I have one more thing to talk about, at least one more game to talk about after this.
I want to add one thing before we move on to next week.
Sounds good.
So my thing is NFC Contenders. Okay, the Packers beat the Bucks. Good thing for the Packers. Congrats.
Packers
but the Bucks
and
almost
Bucks
had a chance to tie it. What were you gonna say?
I would say Packers and Bucks are both contenders. I think a big reason why the Patriots, I almost said Patriots because they have Tom Brady, but the Bucks, the reason why they drove down the field, in my opinion, is the fact that Jair Alexander got hurt. If he's guarding Russell Gage, no, they don't drive down the field. But injuries have plagued both of those teams. And I'm not necessarily surprised that the Bucks are struggling. And it's, again, not Tom Brady's fault. He has lively passes. He's making good throws, but fumbles from inexperienced wide receivers or wrong routes run. he does not look happy, and it's the fact that Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans were not playing.
Yeah, and they promoted Cole Beasley after they signed him on Tuesday. To me, like, I do agree they're contenders. It's just, to me, it's a toss-up. Like, if you told me, like, right now, who do you think's going to win the NFC? I really don't know. I think it is between
I feel
the
that way. I don't
Packers.
think the Rams are all that good. The Rams almost choked against the Cardinals.
Yeah, but I think they could.
Well, again, they're contenders. I'm just not confident in the Rams. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Is there any team you are confident in?
No, not in the NFC.
Okay.
In the
Not in the
AFC,
NFC,
I
yeah,
would
AFC
say
's
I'm pretty confident in the Bills, even though they lost to the Dolphins. I'm pretty confident.
Cool. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I wanted to focus more on the NFC because the AFC you can see, you can name a couple of teams and you're good. But with the NFC, like I think you could almost put the Eagles. Like the Eagles could have a chance to do it.
Well, I think any team that makes the playoffs in the NFC has a chance. So if you think the Eagles are going to make the playoffs in the NFC, then I say they have a chance. So, yeah, I can agree with that.
Cool. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we talked about it earlier, but no team has proved themselves enough to be confident in. But yeah, you're good to go.
In the NFC, yeah. I just want to talk about one more point. There is one 0-3 team. One. There's no other teams that are 0-3. The Texans are 0-2-1, but there is one 0-3 team. The Raiders. They got Devontae Adams. Everyone's like, everything's going to change. They made the playoffs last year. Got Josh McDaniels. Their defense has struggled. Their offense has struggled. Mac Hollins got a ton of yards last week while Darren Waller and Devontae Adams sat back. Hunter Renfrow was hurt. It is panic time. Not to mention they play a Broncos team with a very good defense. And while the Broncos may not put up a ton of points, the Raiders' defense I haven't seen enough from, and I definitely expect the Broncos to win this home game. So I don't know. Oh wait, I think the Raiders are at home actually. Yeah, the Raiders are home. But even though it's at Las Vegas, I definitely think the Broncos are going to win this game, and I'm worried because if they start 0-4, they are not making the playoffs. You can put that on one of our starts to the episode, but Raiders start 0-4, I can guarantee they're not making the playoffs. Guarantee it. AFC's too good.
Quick question. How many yards does Devontae Adams right now? I have this pulled up. I'm quizzing you.
Oh, okay. In total?
Yeah, in total.
Over the three games? I'm going to go 95 yards. Is it too low? It may
it's
be too
189.
low. 189. Still a lot less than
Oh, yeah, and 17 receptions. And I think the majority
only
of those came in like
17?
week one.
Yeah,
Only 17, yeah.
How many touchdowns does he have?
He has 3.
That's not bad. 3 touchdowns in 3 games is good. But look up Mac Hollins. How many yards does Mac Hollins have? He's also on the Raiders.
He has like 280 or 230 something. Oh, 240.
So he has more yards than Devontae. I know Darren Waller struggling. Hunter Renfrow has been hurt. This team just doesn't look good. They don't. And like I said, you can put it on one of our intros to an episode, but I guarantee we will not be seeing a Las Vegas team in the playoffs if the Raiders don't win this week.
Yeah, and that would have heavy implications on someone's postseason predictions before the season. But I'm curious that you said you're confident in the Broncos to win.
The Broncos' defense is really good. I don't care what we see from their offense. Their defense is really good. Even against the Seahawks, we thought, the Seahawks were kind of running away with the game. Second half, no points. The reason why the Broncos lost to the Seahawks is because they fumbled twice in the end zone. In the end zone. Literally, the ball fell into the end zone.
Yeah. I can't remember their red zone numbers, but they did not look good. And
they're like 1 for like 22.
It's rough. Yeah, to me, I'm watching the game, which stunk. Um, it was just like, how they're 2-1. How? To me, they shouldn't have 2 wins just because of how bad the offense has looked. So that's why, like, the offense caused me as a pause. I'm gonna go against you. I'm gonna say Raiders get a win. So, now I think we can move forward. What else you want to do, Austin?
Well, let's just look a little bit at next week. So we have Chiefs, Bucks. I know we talked a little bit already about that, but that's probably my biggest game of the week because I want to see how the Chiefs rebound after a terrible loss. And the Bucks, after a tough game, they'll probably get Mike Evans back. Hopefully they'll get Godwin and Julio back. But that's my biggest game of the week. What's yours?
Ooh, I didn't even realize that was happening. Oh, and it's on Sunday night. Very excited. I'm going to go with the Thursday night game. Dolphins, Bengals. Dolphins, do they stay undefeated? Bengals, how does Joe Burrow do against this Dolphins defense? And they're a team that likes to blitz a lot. So how does Joe Burrow overcome that? And then, yeah, I think even though the Chiefs and Bucks is good, and I'm very excited to watch that, I'm very intrigued at what the Dolphins look like against this Bengals team.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good game. I'd say like make or break games. I know these teams may not make the playoffs at all, but Seahawks versus Lions, both teams are 1-2. If you lose this game and you're already a team that's not supposed to make the playoffs, and you start 1-3, you're not making the playoffs. So that's a do or die game for either of those teams. 1-2 Titans versus 1-1 Colts. That's going to be an interesting game. I'm gonna love to watch that.
I agree. I also like Jets Steelers because Zach Wilson is starting to will start that game, and George Pickens made that incredible catch, which I think is better than the OBJ catch.
Oh no, it's not. It's not.
What? Why do you say that?
It was a pass interference on the OBJ one. He caught it in the end zone. It was just 3 fingers. It was a much more impressive catch. I tried to compare.
Here's my reasoning. Even though it is still an impressive catch, to me, what Pickens did is it's almost like the OBJ catch, but OBJ was falling, and like he stretched his arm backward. With Pickens, it's to the side, and to me, he looked like he contorted his body. It was harder to contort his body.
The reason why Odell was falling was because of where the ball was. He needed to fall to get to it.
Okay, yeah, I see your point. I think we're probably just going to agree to disagree. It's just to me, it seemed easier, even though I'm not that athletically gifted like OBJ and Pickens. But when he went back, like to me, it's easier when his body seemed to be in a straight line. Pickens looked to be in like his legs are going one direction, but then his body is going towards the left and catching that ball.
A big difference for me, though, is also that OBJ caught that ball with what appeared to be 3 fingers. OBJ caught it like this. Pickens caught it like this.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah. I understand your point to my A. I just saw Pickens, but they did both lose that game, both teams. So
didn't really matter much in the long run.
Yeah. But I'm very intrigued how the Steelers offense looks, how the Jets look with Zach Wilson. And then Jaguars and Eagles, going to be interesting. Bills and Ravens, very interesting as well.
Yeah, we'll see if the Bills can rebound against another tough opponent.
Yes, so that's all I got. I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Been a little bit of a dry spell, but we'll get back into it. Don't worry.